What's going on, everyone? Today we're diving into one of the big misconceptions with lithium iron phosphate batteries. 5 years ago, it made less sense to upgrade to lithium unless you were building some sort of off-grid system. But the price has come down so much that it can actually be cheaper than lead acid. Not only that, it cuts down on maintenance time and it could prolong the life of your RV appliances. So let's dive right in. 7 reasons a lithium swap is worth considering and 7 things you need to know before making the swap. Your RV consists of 2 electrical systems, the 120 volt AC side and the 12 volt DC side. Let's start with 12 volt. First, lithium iron phosphate has much more usable capacity than lead acid. A lead acid battery should be generally only discharged to about 50%. With lithium, you can discharge much deeper. Now, how far you discharge depends on a couple things, the type of battery, the system that you're running, but that means a 50 amp lithium battery provides roughly the same usable energy as a 100 amp hour lead acid battery. This is important for 2 reasons. You have more usable capacity before the battery needs to be charged, and you don't have to charge the battery as much. You cut down on the number of charge cycles you actually use. Lead acid, roughly a 300 to 600 charge cycle lifespan. Lithium, depending on the manufacturer, of course, 3,000 to 6,000 cycles, some even higher. That means 10 to 15 years of service versus having to change out a lead acid battery every few years. A 100 amp hour AGM battery can weigh 60 to 70 pounds, but a 100 amp hour lithium battery comes in around 20 to 30 pounds. So you're getting more battery for less weight, and we all know that weight is important in an RV. So for perspective, this is the Epoch Batteries V2T. It's a 12 volt, 460 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. If this was an AGM battery of the same weight, it would only be roughly 150 amp hours. As lead acid batteries are used and discharged, the voltage drops relative to the depth of discharge. Also, you'll notice that when the battery is only supplying 11.8 to 12 volts, we're also around the 50% discharge point, which is what we covered earlier. On the other hand, lithium batteries hold a more constant voltage during discharge. It's only when you're around 90% discharge that the voltage starts to drop. Consistent voltage and voltage in the 13 to 13.4 volt range is generally better for appliances than fluctuating voltage at the bottom of the range. Another reason to consider an upgrade, lithium batteries charge much faster than lead acid. Lithium batteries can accept a high charging current almost until they're full. Now, we're going to talk about charging and charge profiles later in the video, but they are substantially faster to charge. Maintenance is almost non-existent on a lithium battery. Flooded batteries require checking water levels and cleaning corrosion. It's also important to keep them stored at a full charge. With lithium, there's no water levels to check, there's no acid spills, and with a slower self-discharge rate, lithium batteries can be stored for a longer period of time before needing a charge. Here's, I think, a big one, lower long-term cost. Lithium will usually cost you more upfront. That might change as lead acid is dying off, but they do last longer. So the cost per charge cycle over the long term usually lower than lead acid. A properly set up good lithium battery can last 10 to 15 years. So even if the price of lithium is double that of lead acid, it can save money over the long term. So that's all the science stuff. Let's talk about the practical uses. If you take longer trips that require more than 1 day of driving, you can save money by, for example, staying at a Cracker Barrel parking lot instead of paying for a campsite. Even if you just want to break for a couple hours, you can still run your water pump, your stove, the slide outs, the gas side of a water heater, and the lights. Electric auto leveling systems are power intensive. Lithium will help with not only getting the landing gear down, but also back up when it's time to leave. A big one is the 12 volt fridge. Let's take a look at worst case scenario. You're driving, it's hot outside, and maybe even hotter inside your RV, and the compressor is running. A fully charged 100 amp hour lead acid battery is only going to run a 12 volt fridge compressor if it's pulling 10 amps for about 4 to 5 hours, and that's because the depth of discharge is 50%. A lithium battery with the same amp hour rating will power the same fridge for about 8 to 9 hours. Now, a solar panel will help. That's why many OEMs are adding at least one panel with a 12 volt fridge, but the panels need sunlight on the drive. Another reason to consider upgrading if the campground loses power, especially on the day that you're leaving. It's nice to have that additional capacity to run the water pump in the morning, get everything cleaned up, and still have enough power to retract awnings, auto leveling systems, tongue jacks, and slide outs. Or losing power in the middle of the night. I know, important to some of you, a 12-volt CPAP machine. All of that will run longer and cleaner on lithium power. This naturally leads us to another reason to consider an upgrade to lithium. You can build up this system later in stages. Maybe your needs change. You want to run more than just 12-volt appliances on your stops and overnighters. Now, running 120-volt appliances will require some type of an inverter system, and you may need more batteries depending on what you want to run, but at least you have a head start. Look, you're upgrading to lithium if you want to power an entire RV without shore power. That's a given. That's not what this video is about. It's about the benefits for RVers who camp on shore power, but also want additional power when shore power is not available. Okay, you've decided you want to switch over to lithium. Is this as simple as removing the lead acid battery and just dropping in the lithium battery? Or are there some modifications that need to be done first? And the answer depends on a couple different things. Your OEM converter needs to be lithium compatible. We know the converter is powered by 120 volts AC, and it has two jobs. It powers the 12-volt appliances, and it charges the battery. Lead acid batteries and lithium batteries have different charge profiles. This is just a fancy way of saying they are charged at different voltages for different amounts of time in different stages. I don't think there's a need to dive into the specifics of charging profiles at this point in the video. For now, you just need to know that lead acid and lithium charge profiles are different. Now, a lead acid charge profile will charge a lithium battery, but it will not fully charge a lithium battery when the different cells in a lithium battery will balance. Balanced cells in a lithium chemistry is extremely important. Now, some lithium converters have to be manually switched to the lithium profile. Some have auto detection. As you can see, this converter is the latter. Determining if your converter is lithium compatible is as easy as finding the model number and going online. Another component that charges your house batteries is your solar charge controller if you have solar. The solar charge controller needs to have a lithium charge profile for the same reasons as the converter we just discussed. The next thing changes based on the type of the RV. So let's start with towables. Another charging source is the alternator, of course, when the truck engine is running and you're connected via the 7-pin connector. Unlike the converter and the solar charge controller, we don't necessarily have to be concerned with a charge profile at this point. The alternator just doesn't provide enough power to recharge a battery in the realistic amount of time you're driving the truck. Because lithium charges faster than lead acid, the common question here is, will a lithium battery pull more power than what the alternator is designed for and cause damage? The answer is no. First, the wire that runs back to the 7-pin is typically fused. Another limiting factor is that the wire going back to the 7-pin is just too small and too long. There's too much resistance. But because of these same reasons, the alternator is just not going to do much more than trickle charge your lithium batteries. It's just not a viable charging source. Now, you can make it a viable charging source by adding a DC to DC charger, but we're not there yet. We're just checking compatibility at this point. For now, a lithium swap in a towable will not damage your truck's alternator. Where things change is if you have a motorhome. The battery is usually closer to the alternator, so it's a shorter and thicker wire. In this scenario, you'll see more amperage than what the alternator is comfortable with. So on towables, the alternator is fine for a lithium swap. On drivables, you'll want to add a DC to DC charger to regulate that power. Jared from All About RVs did a really nice amp draw test on both of these scenarios, and I'll link to that video down below. Earlier, we mentioned that as a lead acid battery discharges, the voltage drops, and that's how these OEM battery state of charge indicators actually work. They read the voltage and tell you the current state of charge based on that voltage. You'll remember that lithium has a steady voltage during most of the discharge. That means your typical OEM battery indicator is not going to be accurate and tell you the current state of charge on a lithium battery. If your lithium battery has Bluetooth, you'll be able to see the SoC in the battery's app. Some batteries come with a gauge, or you can install a shunt. So you can upgrade to lithium. The battery life indicator is not going to hurt anything, but it's not going to be accurate either. Temperature is going to be a factor with lithium. The magic number here is 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. You can discharge batteries below 32 degrees. You do lose a little capacity, but the big issue here is charging lithium batteries below freezing. It can permanently damage the cells. It's irreversible. The bottom line is this: if you want to upgrade to lithium and you want to charge and continue operations below freezing temperatures, you want to get a battery with a BMS that will not allow your battery to charge below freezing temperatures. aka low temp charge protection, and number 2, a heated battery. So here's an example, and I can't speak to all battery manufacturers, but in the Epoch V2T, if the temperature falls to 32 degrees, the BMS will redirect any charge power at the terminals away from the cells and over to the battery heater. Once the BMS sees 41 degrees, it will then allow the battery to charge. The BMS will only use charge power to heat the battery. It will not use power stored in the battery. You can still upgrade to lithium, but these are things to look at based on your location and your needs before you buy a battery. This next one's worth a little explanation. Do you need to upgrade your RV's wiring and fusing when swapping over to lithium? So there's 2 things we need to look at. First, the wiring coming from your battery to your appliances. And remember, at this point, we're just swapping over to lithium. We're not adding larger refrigerators or inverters. We're not changing any of the loads. The second thing to look at, again, OEM wiring, but this time in regard to charging instead of discharging. The OEM's wiring should be rated for the top end of any equipment that came from the factory. Same thing here, if we're not changing the equipment that's charging the battery, you're okay. Where wiring comes into question is if you're replacing the OEM converter with something that is capable of supplying power that exceeds the rating of the existing wiring. In regards to the solar charge controller, it's when I add more panels that can exceed 30 amps and I swap to a higher amperage charge controller that I need to take a look at that wiring. That doesn't necessarily mean that your RV has the proper wire size running for all your appliances. When 12-volt fridges became popular in RVs from the OEM, a lot of companies were not properly sizing the wire from the fridge to the battery. So it's definitely something worth looking into. But if you're not changing any of the loads and you're not sending more charging power to the battery, typically you're okay to use your existing wiring. Okay, I saved the easiest one for last, the size of the battery and where you want to put it. Fifth wheels and large motorhomes, easy. Lithium doesn't off-gas. You got large storage bays with enough room for all kinds of batteries, but a different story with travel trailers. Even with the recent price drop on lithium, I have seen these things grow legs and walk off in the middle of the night. You may want to consider installing these in a lockbox outside, or even better, somewhere inside. Measure where you want to put it and also the door leading to that area, which is oftentimes smaller. You also want to consider the cabling and being able to realistically run that cable where you want. A lithium upgrade may not make sense for everybody if you only RV for a couple weekends of the year. If you don't drive far from home and always have shore power, a quality flooded or AGM battery will do the job. But lithium doesn't need to be associated with just large off-grid systems either. In addition to the information in this video, it's important to do your own research before upgrading to lithium. There's a lot of variables between everyone's needs and everyone's RV. The entire system that we're going to be installing will be in upcoming videos. Please consider subscribing if the video helped. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.